Hey guys, it's the Fantasy Shaders here, bring you another 2 round mock draft post week 1 free agency. Your host Daniel and Lucas is joined with me. Lucas, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I'm ready to finally back from vacation, ready to sort of actually break down these free agents instead of just looking at Twitter and all your guys' reactions and videos. So I'm ready to see if any of the moves may have uh, affected the NFL draft mock draft market.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I'm ready. Let's get the show on the road.
All
Would
righty.
you want the first pick or second pick, or how do you want to
I
work this
mean,
out?
we can just kind of go through to start because I don't think our picks are going to be different for the first couple.
Very true. I mean, again, we can make the picks together as well. So
Yeah,
I
let's
like
just do
that.
it together. So I think it's still Joe Burrow undoubtedly. The Bengals
100%.
added a couple guys, kind of here and there, a corner here and there, just to kind of maybe round out the roster. But I think they're pretty set on Burrow. If you kind of have any difference with
Agreed.
any
I mean,
breakdown.
every college football fan was able to see what he was able to accomplish this year. I mean, Heisman Trophy, national champion, 60 touchdowns. I mean, he probably just had the best college football season we've seen from a college quarterback in the history of college. I know I just said college a bunch of times in a row right there, but I mean,
Yeah, they're taking Burrow or they're trading down. I don't think there's any difference. I mean, any other option for them at this point. I don't think they're going to mess it up either. But if we move on to this next team, I think this is where
this is
the
the money
rumors are
spot right
starting
now.
to sort of circulate kind of what they're going to do. Obviously, like we said, this is post wave one of free agency.
Agreed.
So Jameis Winston's still up for grabs, and there's been some rumors that he might land here. I'm not going to say if he is or not because we don't know. Obviously, I'm still thinking Chase Young at this point. I don't think they reach for a Tua when they can just go. But I think they're going to roll with Haskins or they're going to bring in someone in free agency. I don't think they're going to try and I don't think Ron Rivera is going to kind of eliminate what's happened the past couple of years, even though it's kind of like what he was signed to do as a coach. I just think that he's going to take best available here, which for me, that's Chase Young. Do you feel any different?
I mean, I can kind of see that as well. Now, do you want to make this what we would do or what we think is going to do, or going to happen?
I
Sorry.
think we should do what we think is going to happen. Try to be as accurate as possible at this point.
At this point, what I think would happen is Chase Young, simply because we've heard preliminary rumors about Tua, but we haven't heard anything like fully come out. Now, if this is what I would do, I mean, this might shock you, but I personally, I personally would actually go Tua here because I'm just not a huge Haskins believer, and I feel like, again, like the Cardinals theory, uh, when you have an upgrade to make a quarterback, you have to. Now, I as a prospect, I just love exactly what Tua brings. He's the most accurate quarterback in this class. I mean, he proved at Alabama. Like, Alabama went from a run first defensive team to, as soon as they added him, they were one of the most wide open passing attacks in the country. I mean, again, do you have any like
No, I
thoughts on
think
Tua
I,
as a
I
prospect?
get I get all the sides to like where they might take Tua and all that. I just think that Ron Rivera is a smart enough coach to know that you can't just like in the long haul. This is obviously a dynasty, so by just taking Haskins, even though he didn't make that pick, that's might not what he wanted to have for his franchise. I think that he knows that there is more than just a quarterback. Obviously, it's one of the most important positions on the team, but I think he knows he can build around it. However, I don't think Chase Young might even be the right pick here if you're just trying to build like best overall talent. I think it's just going to happen because I can't imagine the feedback from Redskins fans if they let.
Oh,
A, it has to be. He has to be at Nick Bosa's level or even higher in terms of just an edge prospect.
I agree.
In the past
Uh,
couple of years.
Now, if you're a Redskins fan, do you think, like, sorry, not even just if you're a Redskins fan, if they were to shop Dwayne Haskins, do you think they get better or worse than what Arizona got for Rosen last year? Because they
I
got a
think
high two, I believe.
Yeah, I think they would get a second. I don't think any team would throw a first. It's the way the trades flow. I mean, there's plenty of trades that we could talk about in free agency that kind of just show that. I think Haskins isn't. I don't want to say he sucks. He's definitely better than Rosen to me. I think that
Agreed.
he would definitely gauge interest to maybe come draft day they could move him. Maybe I don't know, just naming teams. Patriots at the end of the draft. Maybe they don't see a guy they like at 26 or wherever
23.
they're at. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
maybe that could happen. I don't think they move Haskins now. I think that decision maybe would come draft day ish. I just think they're going to take their pick unless they get a good offer for a team trading up to get to. I think they're going to take Chase Young.
I can agree with that. I mean,
and move
at the end
on. I
at the
mean,
end of the day, that pick comes down to either Tua or Chase Young, in my opinion. Now, if you want to go Chase Young,
yeah,
I fully like it. I'm fully on
yeah,
board. Now, sorry. This mock draft specifically today is going to be teams picking where they're slotted to pick. We're going to be releasing an interactive mock draft closer to the draft period. So if you want to check that a little later on, it'll be pushed out. So uh, now we're at the Lions here at 3. I think now this is a tough spot as well because this is a prime trade out spot. Now, what are your thoughts on this?
yeah. Like you said, prime trade out spot. We're not doing trades right now. We'll do that closer to draft time with more of a different project on that. To me, this has to be Jeff Okudah. If
I
no
agree.
trades, and we're picking what they should do and what we think they would do. Darius Slay did get traded, not because they didn't like him, just because they didn't want to pay him. Because I think Lions are kind of, I think, I don't want to say a smart franchise, but they kind of get how things work with who you should pay when, the value of certain players. So I think it's got to be Okudah. You're basically just replacing Slay with the cheaper Slay in a way, a lockdown corner that can show it on all levels. Last year, he will show it all on all levels come draft time.
I mean,
However, I
he's got
do
the
think this
nicest
pick,
hips I've seen. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry about that. He's got the nicest hips I've seen in quite a while. And we have to keep in mind that their coach, Matt Patricia, is coming straight from Bill Belichick's system. But what does Bill Belichick value on his defensive side? He values lockdown corners.
yeah,
Every
I
single year you
totally
look at the
agree.
Patriots, they have lockdown corners. I mean, Stephon Gilmore is the best corner in the league. Before that, they had Darrell Revis for a couple of years. Before that, they had uh, who was it they had? They had Ty Law in the past. Like they've had that
Mhm.
lockdown guy. Sorry for that little freeze, but
Yeah, you're good. And
yeah,
I mean, if you think about it just in terms of who they play in division, he's going to have to lock down Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, maybe, or to be determined.
he's good.
And then Allen Robinson. So, like, I know looking at just division, that's only 6 games of your season, but like that's a long term franchise thing. The divisions aren't going to get changed anytime soon. So yeah, I love the Jeff Okudah pick here. However, I think this pick will get traded come draft night.
Agreed.
And we'll get into trades and all that later. I just think 3 is such a good prime spot, especially with 3 top quarterbacks, that it will happen. And especially for a team that needs Okudah but doesn't necessarily need Okudah at this point, like really bad. So I think Okudah here is the pick with no trades for sure.
I mean, I agree. They need assets in general. So, like, if the trade was, say, a team like, I don't know, LA wants to trade up from 6 to 3 here in this particular position, they would be more than willing to answer the phones.
Yeah.
Because if I'm here at the Lions, I mean, I'm looking at Okudah, I'm looking at Simmons. There's a couple guys that I'd really consider at this spot. Now, Okudah's going to be the pick here in this specific mock simply because of what Matt Patricia values, what Okudah brings to the table. He's such a tier above any other corner in this draft, in my opinion. So, yeah, no, I love Okudah here at this spot. 4 here, I mean, pick of the tackles. I mean, I've seen Wirfs get mocked here a lot. I'm personally a big fan of Becton. Wills can be in this situation. Can be in this position, and Andrew Thomas is still a monster. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on which tackle that
Mhm.
you prefer at this spot. I know I personally really like Becton, but I just want to hear how you kind of have it shaked out.
Yeah, and I think this is another trade spot to be determined. But I think that, to me, I think the best tackle ready now, I think, is Wirfs. However, I don't think that is what fits the Giants. To me, I think what fits the Giants is a guy like an Andrew Thomas or a Becton. That Becton's got his rise from the combine, but like if you look at just the Draft Network's predictive board, Thomas is all the way down to 16, and to
It's
me that is,
ridiculous.
yeah, like I don't know what he would have done. Maybe he didn't have good enough combine numbers. Cool. Neither did DK Metcalf. Whatever. We don't need to talk about combine like followers or anything, but Thomas never did anything to drop him below Becton to me. Like personally, my tackle 1 or whatever is Wirfs. I think that he would have the longer career. He could easily slide in and play guard. I think he's just the better pick. But I think if we're picking just for the Giants, I think Becton would be the pick here.
I like it.
Knocking down that huge, like he's a
He's
monster.
see
Becton's huge.
he's like people like to use this analogy all the time, but he is literally a dancing bear. Like he's 6'7", 370 pounds, and his feet are just absurdly fast for a guy that size. Like again, like any of your top 4 tackles here, they're basically neck and neck on my personal draft board. I mean, pick your litter. I mean, Becton if you want that absolute mammoth with good feet. Wills probably has the best pure feet in this class, in my opinion, and his hand technique is the best. Uh, Thomas, in my opinion, again, like you know what you're getting. He's safe. He's solid. he can step in day one and ultimately be a great starter. And then Wirfs is just the ridiculous athlete who can play inside and out. So, I mean,
I agree. So you can go ahead and make the pick. I'm cool with any tackle here. I think that's ultimately what they're going to go to be safe.
I personally go Becton personally.
Do it.
But yeah, I mean, again, none of those guys you can go wrong with. So I like it.
Heck yeah. Dolphins now. I don't even know like how to intro this because I don't even know what the kind of gauge of the market is for mock drafts for the Dolphins. They got busy in free agency. They got guys like Byron Jones, Jordan Howard. I'm gonna miss so many. I'm not even gonna think of all of them.
They got what's his name? A rusher, Shaq Lawson.
Yeah,
Shaq Lawson as well.
and they're not done yet. I don't think either. By the time this comes
Agreed.
out, maybe they are done. Maybe free agency's done. Who knows? We don't really know when we're gonna release this. But I think the ultimate spot here,
It's quarterback.
I think it has to be Tua. I'm gonna give kind of what I think if I was the GM with the Dolphins this year, I would just build outside of the quarterback spot. As much as I think Tua is good and all, but we have this conversation with quarterbacks every year. There's always those top three guys every single year. But to me, I kind of look at this sort of a little biased in a way because the Broncos kind of did this by building around before they got a quarterback in place. However, that might not have been the intention the whole time. It's what happened. I'm sitting here, the Dolphins, they need O-line. I would just go ahead and just slot it down, get an O-lineman, or maybe even like Simmons. Like I just see a little bit more value to build around it, but I think Tua is ultimately the pick here. Maybe Herbert, we'll kind of see. And I don't want to like argue that Herbert isn't as good as Tua because obviously it comes down to fit, but I think that it'll be quarterback come draft day if they even pick here. They could be picking all the way up at 2 or all the way down at like 10. Who knows how it's going to play out for them.
Man, I'm excited to see how the draft works out this year because there's so many scenarios that could play out. But again, ultimately here, it comes down to quarterback now. If you haven't seen Notorious Fantasy, I'll link them in the description. But basically, we released a mock draft yesterday, and comment section was not liking it. But we had Herbert going here at 5 simply because, again, I can't emphasize this enough. This is what we think is going to happen, not what we would do. I mean, Lukas, I think you believe the same, but personally, I have Tua as a tier above Herbert in terms of like a talent. So, I mean, to appease the Miami Dolphins fans, I might just take Tua here, but I honestly just have a nagging suspicion that they're going to go Herbert. But I mean, what do you think here?
I think another thing to kind of say that is I was listening to a podcast this morning, Stick to Football, Bleacher Report podcast.
Oh, yeah.
They were mentioning that before, obviously, the whole coronavirus shutdown things happened, that they were trying to pull in Tua for a workout. The Dolphins were. I don't know. I still think it has to be Tua here just because I think the Dolphins wouldn't mess this up because I think I've been on the firm believer that the Dolphins are building a dynasty very slowly and it's starting to work out and people are starting to notice that they are doing the right thing. Now you got teams like the Jaguars starting to do this. The Cardinals are now starting to do this. Like they're doing the right thing and it takes time. And I think here adding Tua would make sense. You don't have to rush him into anything. He might not even need to play this year for who cares? I don't think Tua cares about that in a way because he's been kind of just a humble quarterback in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think take Tua here. You say Tua is just average, okay? But you have the pieces around him, like I've said, that they've been doing throughout free agency to where they're going to be good enough, better than the Dolphins have been in a long time. So I think it got to be Tua here. I don't think they're going to get too tricky at this point right now.
Now, you mentioned to sit him behind Fitzpatrick for a year. I love that. I mean, if I'm Miami, there's not a chance in heck. If I'm not 100% sure that he's fully healthy coming into the season, or even if he is, I would not have him starting week 1 at the very least. I have Fitzpatrick out there, good veteran. He can hold the fort for a bit. Let Tua learn, let Tua develop, because Tua's like, as much as I'm a believer in him, he still has his flaws. I mean, like you watch the games, obviously the medicals are not going to check out. Now, stick him behind Fitzpatrick, let him develop, let him learn the system. I mean, you don't want to throw a rookie quarterback like that with that much natural talent under the fire. So I definitely like the fit here because Fitzpatrick's that proven stopgap guy that could really help him. This is an interesting spot.
So I was actually doing a little research this morning because I thought I was making my own mock draft before we made this. The Chargers obviously did not sign a quarterback yet because Winston's still up there. Who knows where he's going to go at this point. different conversation. But I think they've made it clear that they are okay with riding Tyrod into next year, and I don't disagree. I think that is what is okay for the team. That is, I mean, he could do just as good as Phillip Rivers did, and that team was. I mean, they had a bad year this year due to injuries, blah blah. But they've been okay going forward. To me, this has to be offensive line. I don't think Herbert is the pick here because the Chargers will not be a pick 6, even if Tyrod's the quarterback for a long time. It's just not going to happen. It's just kind of a fluky year to me. However, that's a very loose term, but I think that's kind of what their season was. You saw last year they were competing. They lost a couple short games with small margins, injuries. I think that it has to be offensive tackle. I'm going to go with Wirfs at this pick. They did get Brian Bulaga in free agency. That's another Iowa guy. That's not going to be like the determining factor, but I think that could be sort of an influence to coaching, mentoring, background of play. They obviously like Bulaga for reasons he was good at, and Wirfs has those same reasons. He went to the same school, same coach. I think this has to be Wirfs. The Chargers' right tackle play last year was atrocious. It was terrible.
It was awful.
I think this is the easy move. They added, if I didn't think it, Trey Turner in the
trade straight up for Okung.
And replaced Okun with Bulaga. So they filled They filled one of the need with 2 moves. Now I think they just need to fill that right tackle, need and pick up Wirfs here.
I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, Wirfs is a fantastic player. Now, I do think they really address the quarterback's position, whether it could be here or if it could be round 2. I mean, I'm of the belief that I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan in general. Like, I just feel like having him sit behind Tyrod, maybe take him in the second round, have him sit behind Tyrod at least for this season, or at least until Tyrod starts struggling, let's just say. And man, like, having him sit behind Tyrod would be very beneficial for that franchise as well. So what are your thoughts on like a Jalen Hurts in like the second round?
I'm right with you, because I think the thing that people don't realize is that they are comfortable with Tyrod. Then why would they take a pocket passer quarterback? Because where's the mentorship going to come from?
Exactly.
If you get what I'm kind of laying down as. And I like that you brought up Hurts, because I think that he can run. We'll see kind of how it plays out as our mock goes, or as other mocks go. Those other quarterbacks that are way more mobile than Herbert just isn't. He's just not that. Like,
he's not athleticism, but like you wouldn't draft him to be a functional out of the pocket, throw on the run type of player. The thing about it, like he's an athletic dude. That's what bothers me about him. Like on tape, you'll see times where like he shows off his arm, he shows off his incredible athleticism. But then sometimes you just look at it like he can't piece it together. He can't go through his reads. He's inconsistent with his accuracy. Like think about it, he could have the potential to be the best quarterback in this class. Mm-hmm. But just what I've seen on tape is the inconsistencies really drag him down. Like he's my quarterback 4 because of it. Mm-hmm. Now here, I mean, if Tua was in this spot, I definitely see them making the pick and taking Tua. But I just think like in terms of like what they're trying to do as a franchise, I don't think Herbert's a great fit for them. So I agree. I mean, Tristan Wirfs, plug him in. He can play inside. He can play outside. Whatever you need him to do. I mean, he's like as athletic as Becton is. I love Becton. Wirfs is the most athletic offensive lineman in this class. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
and I think
what he was able to do.
It'd be a safe pick to bring in even Tyrod or whatever the case may be, whoever your quarterback is. But if you have a top 10 offensive line with Austin Eckler, probably another running back, either we'll know by the time this comes out, but whatever the free agency draft, they're going to add someone up. They're going to add another running back, whatever the case may be. But if you have a good enough O-line that can give Tyrod the time to throw to Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, it's not going to matter who the quarterback is. We saw it with Teddy Bridgewater last year. He went 5-0, throwing to Michael Thomas, Kamara, Jared Cook behind a good offensive line. So I think they're worried about the quarterback position, but I think it's going to be – I don't know how they feel about their quarterbacks, but I think they see the value in like a Wirfs and like an Eason versus a Herbert and like a Austin Jackson. Maybe they could like.
I hate Eason.
Well, but it's still not like value there. But take Wirfs, we'll move on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take Wirfs, and then we'll talk about Hurts second round. Eason can he can make it to like round 4, round 5 where he belongs, but
so this is. I was struggling with this pick because I was going to mock Herbert here all day if they did not add a quarterback.
Agreed.
But they did. And they added him for a starter contract. They didn't add him just to compete. They added him to be the guy. They talked
3 years,
Cam's already shopping up.
Per
It's
year.
Teddy, and I love the Teddy fit there. I think it's gonna be great. That's a whole other like team preview video. I think at this point it's got to be Isaiah Simmons, but if Herbert is here, I think there will be a trade.
Agreed.
No clue who's going to trade up. I just don't think anyone's going to let Herbert fall down to pick 9 ultimately. But I think it's got to be Simmons just because best available. They lost Luke Kuechly. There's not really a player that I think would go this high that would fill a need. I don't think Derrick Brown's going to go this high. So I think Isaiah Simmons ultimately.
Now, I mean, if it was prior to the Okung trade, I could have definitely seen a tackle go off here. But they got Okung. They filled out their tackle need. I mean, Isaiah Simmons is just such an athletic piece on their defensive end. He could play back deep. He could play at the second level with your linebacker position. He could cover your slot receiver. Like, he does everything. Like, again, like I mentioned in the previous mock, in that national championship game alone, like what he was doing was just absurd. Like he was rushing off the edge. He was playing fucking inside backer, tracking everybody down. He was covering the fastest slot receiver. He was playing out deep at safety, and he's the most just freakishly talented. I don't even know what to call him. Just defensive piece
Prototype.
that I've seen.
Yeah,
that I've seen in a while. I mean, you can't compare him to anybody. Like play style, you might be able to compare him to like a Tyrann Mathieu. But Tyrann Mathieu's like 5'9", like 185 pounds. I say Simmons is 6'4", 235, and runs a 4.39. Like he's ridiculous.
It's going to be interesting to see how because I could easily see where he's just going to bust because maybe that doesn't translate to the NFL just in like team fit. But yeah, I think like we said, the Dolphins are rebuilding. The Cardinals, the Panthers are rebuilding. As much as you want this to happen, they got younger. They literally took Cam Newton, replaced him with a younger type of Cam Newton. They traded away a 26-year-old guard for like a 30-plus-year-old tackle. Yes, it filled a need, but it was a rebuilding move. They literally swapped. They didn't get anything from it. Turner was going to have to be paid, but different. Whatever. They have money. They're fine. I don't know. I think it's got to be Simmons. Basically, what I'm trying to say is they're going to build up that defense, rebuild it with youth like they did a couple of years ago with Luke Kuechly, and then I think go from there. I think it has to be Simmons because they do need a corner, but it's way too early for a guy like C.J. Henderson.
I agree. I mean, Simmons is the pick here. I think it's locked and loaded. Now, if Okudah was here, obviously you consider the corner, but I say Simmons just the best player available, fills the need. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, so I agree with you here.
This is I want to say this is a lock because I think it kind of is. I'm just going to say it's Andrew Thomas. I don't want to say Wills because I think it's going to be Thomas. I think he's one of, like I said, one of the most pro-ready NFL offensive tackles. A couple of these guys, I don't know if they're going to be ready right away. Obviously, they're good enough. I don't know like what goes on in the NFL rooms to decide who's starting and whatnot. Andrew Thomas just seems like a Cardinal to me when I kind of think of an offensive tackle who could fit in.
I do have a scenario for you though. They did sign DJ Humphries long term. Now, do you think they take a guy like Wills to throw him on the right side?
That's where I think I was hoping. I was going to mention that. I don't know that's where I'm confused. Kind of the plan here.
Because I personally would think it's Wills simply because in their system, Kyler's going to be asked to run around a lot. Why not get Jedrick Wills, who has the best feet out of any tackles in this class and probably the best hand technique? Now, don't get me wrong, him versus Thomas. I mean, I feel Thomas is the prototype left side guy, while you got Jedrick Wills who can play the right side for you. Now, because that's simply the only breakdown I'm really making here is that simply they have DJ Humphries locked down long term on their left side.
Yeah,
so
and I
had the right side guy in Wills, I think would be more of a seamless fit because I mean I haven't played offensive line personally, but I know technique wise it must be a big transition trying to go from the left to the right side or right to the left side. So I mean, if you got two players in the same range of talent here, I think Wills is more seamlessly going to step into the right side and be your player there. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
I'd say go Wills. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, we're doing what we think the teams are going to do, and that'd make the most sense. They're not going to go edge. They are by no means going to go receiver now. Not even a check. If they do, that is the dumb. Like I get Kingsbury, whatever. There's no reason they need to, so we don't need to talk about that.
The receiving core as is. I mean, as old as Fitzgerald is, he's still a good number 3 receiver. You just traded DeAndre Hopkins for literally pennies on the dollar. Like I'm not even going to get into that right now. And Christian Kirk is one of the most he's such a good player. He's such a talented player, and having him as the number 2 receiver beside Hopkins, man, like that offense is gonna be deadly regardless of you. Like I don't like people are still gonna say, oh, what if they add CeeDee Lamb to it? But there's no point. We really want to kick a guy
Yeah.
like Fitzgerald to a wide receiver 4 for absolutely no reason. Like
Mm.
you don't need to take your tackle here. You got a big hole. I mean, it comes down to Wills or Thomas here. I like I said, I would prefer to take Wills due to the fit and the fact that I view them as similar players and the same tier. So I mean, yeah, no. What are you thinking?
Go Wills. I think it's safe.
Okay, I like it. It's
All right,
interesting.
this is gonna be fun. I was actually like kind of scenario playing in my head during the free agency and texting all you guys. I don't as much. They traded Nick Foles. They got rid of that. I have a suspicion they might be trying to move up, or a scenario where they could move up to try and snag Tua. Whole different mock, whole different talk about it or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't think it's out of the ordinary here for them to do that. But we come down here with our mock. This is also a tough pick because Isaiah Simmons is gone. They are sitting here at 9. I think it's too early for CJ Henderson.
That's what I was going to mention. If I'm doing it based on what I think is going to happen, I feel like a team like the Jaguars are going to look at CJ Anderson. They're going to look at him. Okay, he's got the athletic profile. He's got the coverage skills. He's got the hips. We just traded away Jalen Ramsey midseason last year. Maybe for all we know, maybe they think they're getting a younger, cheaper Jalen Ramsey. Like I have my questions with Henderson. I think at times on film, he lacked effort. He lacked any sort of willingness to want to like get in on the run game. And in general, like, I mean, people are going to say this, but I'm not going to put too much stock into it. But his game against LSU was not great, let's just say.
No one's game against LSU.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't put too much stock into that, but like a team like the Jaguars here might look into it and say, okay, listen, I got a guy like CJ Anderson here. We just lost our best cornerback. We can seamlessly fit him in. So that's my one consideration. The other one, I mean, you're staring him third down on the board there. It's Derrick Brown. I mean, he's just such a mauler on the inside. Like adding him, especially too. They lost Calais Campbell in that trade. Adding a guy like Derrick Brown, I mean, they're different players in what they do, but he's a pure nose tackle. He's an absolute mammoth. I mean, what are your thoughts on both those players?
Yeah, my pick's Derrick Brown. I was going to say CeeDee Lamb. I was exploring the opportunity of that happening. They just have too many receivers locked down for too long, too much money invested to worry about that this early. I think it's Derrick Brown, like you said. Calais Campbell's gone. Ngakwe's on the trade block. They're kind of They're extremely hitting the refresh button in terms of the players on that team. They ultimately choked by paying Blake Bortles. That could have been a dynasty. Not the point now because we're here with Gardner Minshew. Gross. Derrick Brown, I think you got to slide him in here. He would just be a centerpiece in that interior for X amount, however long you want to make him there.
He's just a fantastic player.
We're moving on already. I like it. This is easy. Best offensive tackle available, Andrew Thomas. Mark it in. They got Jack 100%. Conklin. Their left tackle play was like I think it was graded like 52 or something on PFF. 58 or
what a
it was
mess.
Terrible.
Wasn't their tackle Greg Robinson last year?
Oh, well, it was, and then it was Justin McCray or something for like the last 300 snaps or however many games that'd be. It was bad.
Shout out to Greg Robinson, by the way, former number 2 pick by the Rams. He hasn't really had the career that you were looking for. So
no, but yeah, it's going to be I think they will get the last offensive tackle. I think all 4 are gone in the top 10. They are all quality franchise tackles. They're going to go him. They already have the weapons on offense. Defense, some issues, a lot of veterans. They're going to have to figure that out, but I don't think that's a worry right now. They just need to bounce back here and solidify that offensive line, which they did. If they get Thomas via free agency and the draft, I think will be a huge boost for them.
If you're looking at the Browns in the second round, for example, like you just mentioned defense, at one point in this draft, they're going to need to address the safety position. We'll look forward to seeing that in the second round on. But here, Andrew Thomas, clear tier break after him in terms of the tackle pool, which just breaks the heart of every Jets fan now because
they're in a tough spot. When I was going through it, I got to here and I was like, holy crap, who do I take?
I know who I'd go.
At this point, we're recording. Robbie Anderson's still a free agent. I don't want to make a conclusion, but if he doesn't sign, he's going to go back to the Jets because they said they were going to pay him. So we can kind of, I guess, mock him in. The Jets have Robbie at this point. I
at this point in
think
the cycle.
I think at this point they would take CD whether they have him or not, because I don't think they view Chase on as a franchise edge rusher. I don't think most teams do, because I guess I don't, because
I do.
I don't know. It's
I
tough
love
because
Chase
like
on.
he's good. I'm not saying, but I don't view him as that like Shaq Lawson, Von Miller, like that just like dominates with. I'm
He
not even
re-
gonna name.
he reminds me of Brian Burns from last year. That's how I view
Yeah,
him.
I do get that kind of vibe, and obviously he was a beast last year. I just don't think that Gase would let this one slide. I think he ultimately knows he's kind of on a short leash, kind of. I don't know. This one's tough because obviously you said all the offensive tackles are gone.
Yeah.
Before the Cardinals got D Hop, that's where you could maybe see one falling to here if you went receiver at 8. I think I'm gonna go CD. Are you gonna go Chase on here?
Now, actually, I was gonna play a hypothetical. What about C.J. Henderson here?
They did release shoot, Tremaine Johnson, is that
Yeah,
his name?
yeah. They have like
Yeah.
absolutely no corners right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because if this was me, I would trade back from the spot.
Agreed.
Obviously, if Herbert's gone, which we said at 9, they're going to be 8, 9, whatever the case may be. He's not going to go this far, I don't think. But I think I would trade back even with this group of players on the board, because just like we said, this team needs a lot more than just one player here. So maybe, I don't know. What do you think Chase on probably, though, if they're sitting here?
I mean, to me, like let's play the hypothetical. They bring back Robbie Anderson. Uh, I mean, they could always address the receiver position in the second round if they have Robbie. So say they get, I don't know, like hypothetically an Ayuk or a Brian Edwards or something. I feel like that receiving core would be decent enough
With Jamison Crowder. So, I
with
mean, like,
Jamison Crowder in the slot. Exactly.
it wouldn't be it'd be good enough to kind of solidify the rebuild, like to sustain the production for a little bit.
Exactly. I'm looking at it here. They have absolutely no semblance of a defense right now. I mean, you're looking at Chase on, you're looking at Henderson. Pick your guy. I mean, Henderson can seamlessly fit in as your cornerback one, while Chase on can be your ultimate disruptive edge rusher. I mean, those are the two guys I would
Yeah,
consider
I
here.
think
Now, what's your take on it?
I'd say we go Chase on, and this is kind of a dumb reason why, but Jamal Adams kind of wants out, but maybe you bring in an LSU boy to kind of rebuild that defense a little bit around him with Adams. Maybe there's some type of connection there. I don't know. We can just go Chase on just to
Do it.
play safe. I don't know. That's a tough spot. Even if I don't know. It's tough either way. That one kind of cuts. To me, this is easy. If Lamb's there, he's gone. I don't think Judy is receiving the hype that he should.
I like Judy, but
Yeah, there is a tier break in terms of like our fantasy rankings, but I don't think in terms of like overall NFL talent. I just think they're not going to let Lamb go. He would complement this offense a ton.
I
I
mean, you
don't
got Tyrell Williams, who can play kind of the speed role on the outside, the size
know,
speed guy on
Renfro
the
on the
outside,
inside.
Renfro on the inside. Now get your guy at CD Lamb. He's got the catch radius. He's got the body control. I mean, I'm gonna link my article lower, but I'm a huge CD Lamb fan. He's just the ultimate complement to this offense. I mean, Derek Carr has never had a receiver this talented. So I mean, adding him to this offense, I really like the fit. So let's head on to the Niners here. This is a really interesting spot because they traded DeForest Buckner, talented defensive lineman, to get this pick. So I just want to hear your thoughts. But for me, it's basically coming down to a couple guys here on the board, probably 3 guys here on the board here that I'd comfortably take here.
Yeah, we talked about it a little beforehand, kind of like the way they could approach this pick. And to me, best pick in terms of just like getting best overall talent is Judy. To me, I think that's where you would go if you're just looking to take best pick and move on. Best fit, I think, is CJ Henderson to go underneath Richard Sherman, to go with sort of their uprising, undervalued corners. They kind of had Nixon here and there last year. Henderson would, I think, round out that cornerback room at least for another year or two. Maybe bring in some more. I don't know. I think it would be a good pick. I think Judy's the best available pick. But then,
I
like
mean,
you said, they traded DeForest Buckner, so you kind of have to sort of think what's their plan with that. Ultimately, they traded Buckner. They just didn't have the money to pay him. We said George Kittle will be getting paid here soon.
yeah.
Running back, they'll need to figure out what's going to go on there.
I mean, they got a good stable going on, headlined by Mostert. They still have McKinnon under contract. They still have Breda at this point. I think he's actually
Mm.
a possible trade candidate for a later round pick.
So
But
yeah, I don't know. You're
um,
hovering over Kinlaw. I don't know if that's what it's
oh,
for.
sorry, no. My three guys that I'm actually considering here. I mean, the thing is Judy's more of a slot guy in my opinion, and they already have Debo who can kind of play like the creative slot role. So I don't like. I like him. Like obviously, like Judy, adding a bunch of technicians would be great, especially for a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo who needs people to create separation. But personally, here, I mean, I still have 31, so I can still get a guy like Denzel Mims at that
Mhm.
point, who's a more natural complement to Debo Samuel. Three guys I'm considering here, honestly, are CJ Henderson, Javon Kinlaw, and Grant Delpit. And now, when I look at Grant Delpit, I just think I'm like, that defense is already so superbly talented. A guy like Delpit doesn't have to come. Like, obviously, people are going to say, oh, they signed Jimmy Ward, they signed Jaquiski Tartt. Those guys are box guys, in my opinion. They're not true, rangy, free safeties. And a team like the Niners, they don't have a ton of needs. But adding a guy like Delpa who gives them the length, gives them the playmaking, gives them the range to be able to add to the back end of their defense while complementing guys like Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt, who are more box guys, can make up for Delpa's deficiencies in the run game. I just think it's a seamless fit, but I want to hear your thoughts on both that fit.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think we'll kind of get more of a feel for it through interview, whatever the case may be. We'll learn more about kind of what their plan of attack is. Obviously, Emmanuel Sanders just signed with the Saints last night as we're recording this, so
Yeah.
they lost kind of like their downfield stretcher, I guess you could say, or just kind of like their Sanders was their wide receiver one, so they kind of lost their wide receiver one. So that's where I see that feel. I don't know. It's tough because I don't know. I don't think he would reach on a defensive guy here. Not reach, but I don't think he would have traded Buckner to.
Well, the problem is it depends how you view Delpit because, in my opinion, like he's
Yeah,
a top 20 player in this class. He like traits wise, he's the best safety prospect in this class. Now, McKinney and Winfield, in my opinion, are more complete players at this point in their careers. But if Delpit's able to fix up his tackling, which I mean, you get to the next level, you learn fundamentals. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, it's not, but you can't teach his pure range and playmaking. Like you watch him on film, and he's going from the other side of the field's numbers and making a play at the other side's sideline. Like it's just ridiculous. Like as soon as he diagnoses the play, he's there in a heartbeat. So I mean, depends what you think. If you consider that a reach, but yeah, for me, I'd be fine with any of the three guys regarding him, Kinlaw or Henderson. I mean, it depends what you want to do here, but
yeah. I think the only thing with Henderson for me is they have pick 31. I think they could easily get a corner at pick 31. That's
agreed.
similar talent level. I don't know. It's tough because I think he traded up for a reason. So I still think Judy. I don't. I don't know because it's tough because name an Alabama receiver in the last whatever that's like busted. Really, I just think that it's a safe pick. I don't
I
think Ruggs. I don't think he would have traded up for a downfield stretcher because he could have easily just went out and got Brashad Perriman or Robbie Anderson or you know what I'm saying. So I think that I'd say Judy, but if I had to pick a defensive guy, I'd go Kinlaw. So if you want to lean defense, I'd say go Kinlaw here.
I mean, I could definitely agree with Kinlaw here. Again, no disrespect to Judy whatsoever. He is my wide receiver two on the class. Sorry. I just think like if I'm the Niners here, like while what receiver is a need, I want more so a guy like, for example, I mentioned him, a guy like Mims would be a better fit next to Debo.
I agree.
Uh, but yeah, no, if you want to go Judy here, I'm completely open to that. So it's your call.
I'd say go Judy because I think
Okay,
that's as of now the intention of moving up, but it's hard to gauge.
I'm completely
Now we
fine with
got
that.
the Tampa Bay Patriots here.
This is an
I don't.
interesting spot.
I'm just gonna say this: if it comes down to this and Herbert's still there, no chance he is. I think they would take him and just have him go up underneath Tom Brady, but we're not gonna do that as of now.
I think that's if we're doing it based on what we think is going to happen. Like obviously this is a made up scenario. Herbert and potentially Love are still going to be off the board by this pick most likely because trades are going to happen. Teams are going to trade up for quarterbacks. But I mean, if Herbert's staring me at the board here, on the board here, it's just I don't know. Like you signed Brady, but like you got him for 2 years. He's 43 years old. You don't know how his body's going to hold up. Herbert and Love are by far the most talented quarterbacks left on the board. Now, I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts, but I would have a
I
tough
don't
time
want
passing
I
him.
don't want to pick him here just because I don't know. This is not the fit, I guess, and this isn't going to happen where Herbert's still here. But obviously, we don't have the ability to do trades on this format to make it easy for viewing. I think that ultimately here, they have huge needs, and Vita Vea did not shape up to what they wanted. So Kinlaw staring them down here.
Vita Vea is actually fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's
He's
bad. I just think
he
that like he didn't meet the
he's
expectation of like the main inside D lineman.
see.
I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
I mean, I love the fit of Kinlaw regardless here because I think he's a talented player. But I mean, Vita Vea was fantastic that year. I would more so pick Kinlaw to complement him because Vita Vea, like, surprise, like obviously, like looking back on it, they should have taken Derwin, but Vita Vea has been a very formidable, incredible defensive tackle in this league.
Mm,
But his role is more so as the interior
yeah,
run stuffing nose tackle, which for a guy to play that role and still have the pass rushing capabilities he has is tremendous. But aside from that fact, you got him at that role, adding a guy like Kinlaw, 6'6", 310 pounds, an athletic freak of nature. I mean, he still got his deficiencies in terms of technique at times, but I mean, easily coachable for the next level. Add a couple of moves to his repertoire. If you add a couple of moves to this guy's repertoire, he could potentially be the most talented defensive tackle in
mm,
this class. And that's what I think about him. He's just a freak of nature. Pairing him next to Vita Vea would just be incredible. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on
yeah.
Kinlaw
I
here?
think I guess kind of where I feel with this is you got Brady in here. They still have a need with one more tackle. They did sign some like lower end guy to maybe work in. I think Josh Jones is all the way down there,
Oh, I would
but
not think about Josh Jones. Ugh.
I think I'm not going to throw it out of the possibility because Brady, the Patriots were known for getting sort of the lower name, the kind of forgotten small school offensive tackles, offensive linemen. So they didn't sign Brady to go in and I think take sort of the player they pick here is going to be someone that he moves the needle big time. I think that it's going to be a big playmaker that's going to push this team over the top. I don't want to say that's not Kinlaw, but I don't think that's like one of their biggest needs right now.
I mean,
I'm
adding that type of pass rush next to Vita Vea, next to Shaquille Barrett would just be so invaluable. Like that's huge. And I agree with that point actually in terms of like I personally, as like a fan of football, want to see them take a developmental quarterback, but I just know that signing Brady is such an indication that they're planning on contending this year and next year
yeah,
and making a real push. So I mean, I don't see them investing 14th overall capital into a quarterback. Maybe again, like we mentioned with the Chargers, maybe they take a guy like Jalen Hurts, second, third round, develop him behind Brady so that you have a
mm,
backup plan. But at 14 here, I'm looking at Kinlaw. He's the 8th overall player on my board. He is just an absolute fantastic player. I would have
yeah.
a tough time passing
I'd,
on him here.
I'd say go him because I think the only other thing you could argue is running back, but I think Brady's smart enough to not take a first round running back. So yeah, we'll move on here.
Give
Two
him,
more picks in this video. We're gonna do the first half, 1 through 16,
yep.
16 to 32,
Yeah,
and
part
then
two
last
will be out for
broken down.
tomorrow, so
So yeah, so
stay tuned.
two more picks here. To me, I think this is easy. I think it's got to be Henry Ruggs at this point. I think that they haven't added Robbie Anderson as of now. They didn't make a splash for a receiver. They fixed up the O line. They got Melvin Gordon. I think they're just one receiver away from making this offense quietly electric in a sense. And I think Ruggs would, although he doesn't really fit the offense that you'd think of the Broncos when you think of just a downfield speedy guy, but I think it is a need with Pat Shermer. I could see him or Henderson here, but that's really about it. They got AJ Bouye, lost Chris Harris, but I think Ruggs is the pick.
I agree with that fully. I mean, Ruggs would just add a complete separate dimension to that offense. You got Cortland Sutton as their possession guy. You just add Melvin Gordon to the backfield to complement Phillip Lindsay. Noah Fant's one of the best emerging tight ends in this league. Adding the speed of Ruggs to be able to complement all those guys combined, and Drew Lock, who's an emerging talent at the quarterback position. Again, I've said it time and time again that the Broncos are really like. I know you don't want to acknowledge it because you don't want to like throw any like Houdini stuff on them,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, they're definitely a team that I think has the talent to really make a push. Now it's going to be tough with the Chiefs in the division, but at this point in the juncture of the AFC West, I just see them as the clear number 2 team. I know you don't want to acknowledge that yet, but yeah, no, I definitely see them as
yeah.
a potential playoff team this year. They got a good thing going there. So, uh, yeah, I love the Ruggs pick here. Great fit. I mean, now we're on to the Falcons, and there's a player staring them at the board. Don't think
I think this is where Henderson's value kind of lies to me. They released Trufant, if I remember right.
yeah,
I think. Yeah, so he's gone, which it was a smart move. The Falcons have made good moves so far, I think, in terms of money space for the free agency. I think it has to be Henderson here. I think Fulton really hurt himself by just showing a lack of effort towards the end of the year. He got a little banged up. I just think he fell down the map in terms of, because I'm not going to say college and NFL corners, that talent gap is different, but it is. The game moves a lot faster. You need a lot more skills that I think Henderson has. It might be raw talent, but I think he has those skills needed to slide in as a, I don't know if he's a one, like a true lockdown one. I think he could be a 1A, 1B, but they
Agree.
have, I can't think of the guy they drafted last year.
What's his name?
Probably should have searched it. They
Uh,
have a decent, they've built a good DB sort of youth group
I mean,
movement there.
just lost
Sheffield.
Trufant.
Sheffield.
Yeah. Kendall Sheffield from
Yeah,
Ohio
that's what it
State.
was. But
Sorry, yeah. They just lost Trufant in free agency to the Lions as well. So, which we forgot to mention with the Lions, but
mhm.
Trufant's segueing back to that. Like Trufant would be a great mentor for Okuda. But
Yeah,
let's go
just a
back to
better.
the Falcons pick. Sorry about that. Add to it. My bad.
I think Henderson. I think it's got to be Henderson here. Maybe
Agree.
Fulton. It's got to be a corner. So maybe Fulton if they view him higher. But I think Henderson's the pick as of now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, he could step in day one, be their number one guy. I mean, he's going to have his deficiencies in his tackling and his technique at times, but you can't teach those hips. You can't teach that athletic profile. Henderson's a good fit here. So that would be part one of the mock draft. Like, subscribe down below. I mean, Lucas, you want to mention anything?
I mean, we got some big stuff coming. This is the Fantasy Shaders. If you heard it, if you're listening this far, thank you obviously for listening. We'll kind of break it down more, but basically you'll be seeing a lot of us on different channels here and there, and we got big plans. Post NFL draft, I think, is kind of when we'll have like the ready to show you what the plan is. So check out part 2 coming out to be determined.
Sounds good. I mean, 17 to 32 in the next episode. And then after that, we'll kick off into the second round. So stay tuned. It's going to be entertaining. Like, subscribe down below. Danny McKinnon on YouTube. Anything you want to shout out before we cut off?
Twitter is at @Caser_Lucas, and that's about it.
Yep. Danny Football 59 on Twitter for me. Stay tuned for next episode. We'll sign off.
Peace.
Peace.